I am now 39 years old. I was thinking about this thing about age, is that as I get older, which I'm sure to my 85-year-old self, then I'll look back at 39 as a spring chicken. However, there's comes to a certain point, you know how you can, like, this thing of kind of like the imposter syndrome, or like I'm not good enough to, like, or important enough to, like, do or be a certain thing or to have a certain position? Well, at a certain point, up to a certain point, you can kind of use age as an excuse. It's like, yeah, most of the people that are in that type of position, those are older. They're a bit older, right? They don't. That's how they can have the respect to have that position. That's how they get to be there, or whatever. Or maybe they've had the time to get the experience or whatever. Well, at a certain point, that excuse no longer exists, and I feel like I'm kind of at that point. Like, once you get into your 40s, um, there's not too many rules in life. There may be a few, but there's not too many rules in life that you don't get because you're too young. If you're not getting them, it's because of something else, right? It's the preparation, it's your connections, whatever it is. Um, and this thing of self doubt, I'm curious how pervasive this is for men. I think it's probably pretty pervasive, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So, like, for me, sometimes I can feel like if I'm not seeing the success that I want to see in an area, I can feel like it's very easy to get into that mental mode of, like, wow, I'm just never going to succeed at the level that I want, or I'm just not good enough, or there's something wrong with me. And I can also feel like, wow, if my mental space gets worse, or doesn't, it's not as where it should be, if I'm feeling down about myself, and then I can be like, oh yeah, that's another reason why I can't get to where I'm going, because I have trouble thinking badly about myself or feeling negative about things, and it's not a great space to be in. Um, I think that what's interesting is, well, okay, so the whole issue of success, as it's sort of commonly and vaguely defined, is one issue, but you know how you define success is important, and I would aspire to define success as being faithful, both in the sense of full of faith, and also in the sense of, so not held back by fear in any area, but also faithful in the sense of executing on tasks and doing what needs to be done. So faithful in both senses of the word. So I think a good way to define success would be to be faithful, full of faith, and taking the actions that show your faith consistently. Um, and really, and this is something that Pastor Landon from Mercy Culture had talked about, basically, was that success is obedience. Like, if you obey God, if you're doing what God wants you to do, is enabling you to do, has called you to do, like, that is success. Super easy, at least for someone like me, to get distracted with the external markers and the societal, like, measure of success, when there's actually a much different measure of success that we can go to, and it's one that you could say, like, there's nothing, like, there's other outside factors that we can't control for societal success, if you will, but for this measure of success, being full of faith and taking action that shows your faith, that's not something that you're depending on anyone else to bestow upon you. Um, that's something. I mean, I say no one, no person, right? You need God to bestow those things on you to some extent, um, but to some extent, that's purely a decision you can make. And from that standpoint, you can decide to be successful. Today can be a successful day for you. Nobody may give you accolades. Nobody may slap you on the back and say, wow, that was amazing. Nobody may notice, except for one person. And that person notices everything. And that person is going to be very pleased when you are full of faith and you take action that shows your faith all day long.